know that moment at the start of shift where someone kind of mumbles, "All right, everybody, be safe out there," stares at a clipboard, and then that's it? And 5 minutes later, you've got a near miss on the dock because nobody heard the part about the slick spot by door 3.
Now picture the same dock, same crew, but a supervisor steps up, makes eye contact, and says clearly, 2 things. Door 3 is slick from the rain, so we're walking, not running. And if you see a spill, you stop and call it out. Nobody gets hurt over a puddle today. 90 seconds tops, and that near miss never happens.
This is Workers.com Staffing Pulse, insights from the frontline. I'm Jennifer, Personnel Manager, and today we're talking about safety in 90 seconds, floor briefings that workers actually hear.
And I'm Sam, Staffing Manager. If you work in industrial or light industrial staffing, manufacturing, warehouse, or skilled trades, this episode is for you. We're going to turn those rushed, routine safety talks into short, sharp briefings that fit real production pressure and still keep people safe.
We'll hit both sides, what supervisors and staffing pros can do differently, and what frontline workers and job seekers should be listening for and asking on every shift.
Let's dive in.
So let's name the problem. In a lot of plants and warehouses, safety meetings have become background noise. Same posters, same phrases, sometimes literally the same script for years. People tune it out, especially when they're new, nervous, or racing the clock to get orders out.
Yeah, and think about your temps and new hires. They just got a badge, maybe a quick tour. They're still figuring out where the restrooms are. When they stand in that huddle, they're trying not to look lost. If the message is rushed or the supervisors turn sideways talking into the floor, that safety talk might as well be in another language.
Exactly. And the dangerous assumption is, well, everybody already knows this. But the incident reports tell a different story. Over and over, we see that the person who got hurt was new to the site, or on a different machine than usual, or working in an area where something had changed since yesterday.
Or they heard the rule once during onboarding and never again. And on a busy shift, habit beats memory every time. If everyone around you is cutting a small corner, you're going to feel pressure to copy that, especially if you're a temp who wants to get hired on.
So the real-world picture is loud environment, time pressure, mixed experience levels, lots of distractions. And we're trying to squeeze safety into 30 seconds at the end of Good Morning? No wonder it doesn't stick.
The good news is, we don't need longer meetings. We need sharper ones. And that's where this 90-second safety script comes in.
All right, supervisors, staffing pros, anyone who runs a shift huddle, this next part is for you. If you remember nothing else today, remember this simple 3-part safety script you can use at the start of any shift. Part 1, what changed today? Part 2, one key risk to watch. And Part 3, exactly how to stop work or report an issue.
Let's break that down. First, what changed today? You're not repeating the whole safety manual. You're answering one question. What's different from yesterday that could trip people up? New temp workers online too. A truck schedule change, wet weather, a machine under repair. That's the hook that makes people pay attention.
And say it plainly. Something like, heads up, we have 3 new people on the picking line today, and we're using a rented forklift on the dock. That means we're slowing traffic at door 3. When workers hear concrete changes, their brain goes, okay, this matters right now, instead of, here we go again.
Part 2 is the one key risk. Not 10, 1. Pick the hazard most likely to bite you today. Forklift traffic? Pinch points on the conveyor? Overhead loads? You say it in simple language. Today the big risk is, and then spell it out.
For example, today the big risk is people cutting between racks instead of using walkways. We've got extra pallet jacks out, so stay in the marked lanes. No shortcuts. Short, direct, and it paints a picture people can see when they step out there.
And then you finish with part 3, exactly how to stop work or report an issue. This is the step that gets skipped the most. We say if you see something, say something, but we don't tell them who or how or that it's actually okay to stop for a second.
Right. So you make it crystal clear. If something doesn't look safe, you stop where you are. Get my attention or your lead's attention, and we will pause the job and fix it. You will not be in trouble for speaking up. That last sentence matters. People need to hear that out loud.
When you put it together, the 90-second briefing sounds like this. Morning, everyone. 2 changes today. Weather's wet, so the dock is slick, and we've got a different carrier at door 5, so traffic is heavier in that lane. One big risk, folks stepping into traffic instead of staying in the walkways. Please use the marked lanes and make eye contact with drivers before you cross. If something doesn't look safe, stop where you are. Get me or your lead, and we'll fix it before you move. No box is worth getting hurt.
That's it. That's your safety talk. No lecture, no long story, just today's changes, one risk, and how to speak up. You can do that in under 90 seconds and still have time to cover production goals.
Let's walk through a few real-world examples so you can hear how this script adapts to different environments. Forklifts, conveyors, loading docks, and those wild seasonal peaks.
All right, example 1, forklifts in a busy warehouse. Picture a big e-commerce facility in peak season. You've got riders, walkies, tuggers, lots of moving pieces. A simple briefing might sound like, we've added 2 extra forklifts on the inbound side today, and we're staging pallets in aisle 12 now instead of 9. The big risk is pedestrians stepping out from between racks where drivers can't see them. Stay out of blind spots and do not cut between stacked pallets. If you feel a driver isn't seeing you, stop, wave them down, and wait for eye contact or a hand signal before you move.
Notice how that's not theory. It's floor language. Aisle 12 instead of 9. Between racks. Workers can picture exactly where this applies as they walk out there.
Example 2. Conveyors. Maybe you're in a packing facility with multiple lines. Your 90-second version might be, change today. Maintenance adjusted line 3 last night, so we've got new guards on the rollers and emergency stops were tested. Our big risk is people reaching across moving rollers to grab jammed boxes. Nobody puts hands near moving equipment. Hit the e-stop, call your lead, and wait until everything stops before you clear a jam.
And again, close it with that reporting step. If a guard looks loose or an e-stop doesn't feel right, stop the line and get me immediately. You are allowed to shut it down for safety. For temps who may be used to being told, just keep it moving, that is a totally different message.
Third example, loading docks, lots of live traffic. Here's what you might say. We've got 4 live loads rolling in between now and lunch, including a new carrier unfamiliar with our dock rules. Big risk is people crossing behind trailers or walking under raised dock plates. No one walks behind a trailer, and no one steps onto a dock plate until it's locked and the light is green. If you see someone in a danger zone, stop what you're doing, shout them back, and get a lead. We'd rather lose 30 seconds than lose a person.
And finally, seasonal peak. This is when people are most tempted to skip the talk because everyone's slammed. Ironically, it's when you need it most. You could say, "We're in day 3 of peak, so we've got extra temps on the floor and overtime fatigue creeping in. The big risk today is rushing, running, lifting too fast, and not using two-person lifts. If you feel tired or rushed, slow down and ask for help. If a rate target feels unsafe, come to me and we'll adjust. Safety first, volume second."
The common thread in all of these is it's specific to today. It focuses on one main risk, and it tells people exactly what to do and who to go to when something's off.
Now let's talk about the micro actions that make these briefings actually land. Because you can have the perfect words, but if you deliver them while you're turned away, checking your phone, and mumbling, it won't matter.
First, motivational, where you stand. Get in front of the group where people can see your face. Don't be half inside a trailer or walking away while you talk. Even just stepping up onto a pallet or platform so they can see you over the crowd makes a big difference.
Second, body language. Face your crew, keep your voice up, and use your hands to point in the direction you're talking about. For example, when you say, "Door 3 is slick," point toward door 3. It links the words to the physical space in their mind.
Third, check understanding in under a minute. You do not need a quiz. Just ask 1 or 2 quick questions like, "What's our one big risk today?" Or, "If something looks unsafe, what are you going to do?" And then actually wait for someone to answer. That tiny interaction tells you if your message landed.
You can even make it a little light, especially with regular crews. All right, humor me. What's the one risk today? When 3 people say, "Forklift traffic in aisle 12, you know it's stuck.
Another micro action. Name your temps and new hires when you can. We've got Maria and James starting with us today on the picking line. When people hear that, it reminds the team, we have brand new eyes and hands out there. Let's look out for them. It also signals to Maria and James that they're allowed to speak up.
And finally, use simple, repeatable phrases that keep people listening. Things like, "Nobody gets hurt over a box," or "We can fix a delay, we can't fix a life." When you say those consistently, they become part of the culture. People will start saying them to each other, and that's when you know it's working.
All right, let's flip the lens for a minute. If you're a job seeker or frontline worker listening to this, maybe you're in a warehouse now, or you're about to start a temp assignment. What should you be listening for in these safety briefings? And what can you ask without feeling like a problem?
First, in any pre-shift talk, tune in for those 3 things we've been talking about. What changed today? What the main risk is, and how you're supposed to report a concern. If you don't hear those, it's okay to ask. You're not being difficult, you're trying to go home in one piece.
Here are 3 respectful questions you can use on the floor when you're not sure. Question 1. Can you show me the safest way to do this? It's simple, it's honest, and most supervisors would rather take 60 seconds to show you than fill out an incident report later.
Question 2. If I see something unsafe, who do you want me to tell first? That does 2 things. It tells the supervisor you're paying attention. And it gives you a clear name or role, like your line lead or anyone in a yellow vest, so you're not guessing in the moment.
And question 3, is it okay to stop the line or stop what I'm doing if I think someone could get hurt? Now, some workers are scared to ask this, especially as temps, but the answer you get tells you a lot about the culture. A good leader will say, yes, if it's about safety, stop and get me.
When you actually need to report a hazard, tone matters. You don't have to march up and announce, "This is unsafe." You can say something like, "Hey, I might be missing something, but that pallet looks unstable. Can we check it before we move it?" Or, "I'm not comfortable reaching into this jam. Can you walk me through the right way to clear it?"
That "I might be missing something" opener is powerful. It's respectful, but it still calls out the issue. And you're not accusing anyone, you're inviting a fix. Over time, supervisors actually come to appreciate the workers who do that consistently because you're helping them prevent problems instead of just pointing them out.
And if you're a supervisor or staffing manager listening, remember, when someone speaks up, that is a trust test. How you respond in that moment, eye contact, thanks, taking action, either grows trust or shuts it down. A simple, "Good catch, let's take a look," goes a long way.
All right, we're going to land this with a quick recap of the 3 big takeaways you can use on your very next shift. First insight, safety talks fade into background noise when they're generic and rushed. In loud, fast environments with temps and new hires, you cannot rely on "everybody already knows this." You have to make it specific to today.
Second, the 90-second safety script. Start each shift with 3 things: what changed today, 1 key risk, and exactly how to stop work or report an issue. That's your backbone for forklifts, conveyors, docks, peak season, all of it.
Third, micro actions and questions. Supervisors, stand where people can see you, use clear language, and check understanding with 1 quick question. Workers, listen for those 3 elements in every briefing and use respectful questions like, "Can you show me the safest way to do this?" when you're unsure. Speaking up builds trust when it's done with the goal of keeping people safe.
Whether you're leading a crew or just starting your first industrial assignment, remember, clear, short safety talks are not extra. They're how everyone gets home. Thanks for listening to Workers.com Staffing Pulse.
Until next time.